Hi all. So I'm just going for a nice walk in the mornings, which I like to do from time to time. I took the time to go past the Safeway and noticed that everybody's all masked up, as today is the day that Daniel Andrews has passed his dictatorship commandment that everybody is to have a face mask. As you can clearly see, I'm not wearing one, nor will I be. Now, it's not a case of trying to defy him or anybody else. It is simply making my, shall we say, universe-provided freedom of choice, of maturity, to decide what is in the best interest of myself first and foremost, for my own health, etc., and well-being. And then, if I'm a mature individual, I can interact with other living beings on this planet in a way that is healing and helpful rather than hurtful and dishonest and so on. So what's happening here, I realise on a bigger scale, is our society at large has chosen to be childish, not childlike, childish. So regardless of the age of the people, people are at different levels of spiritual maturity. Sadly, because of the system that's been put in place, many have grown up in such a way that they've been hurt and disrespected and stolen from and all sorts of things. So a bit like some of my other videos, I give an illustration of a spring. So a spring's at its most peace and most ready to be used in a productive way when it's at its place of rest. It can handle a certain amount of pressing down, and used for the right reasons is a good thing. So being productive within a workplace and so on, as long as your boss isn't trying to lord it over you and speaking disrespectfully and so on, because then it's actually having pressures placed on it that are incorrect for its design and ideal production performance, and that's where we start having a problem. Now, when you've got that in the home, you've got that in your workplace, you've got it in public at times with people trying to, try and drive down the road and they're getting frustrated and they're putting their vehicle right up the back of you and flashing their lights and things. That all adds stress to your spring, so to speak. And in turn, if you're too pressed down, you end up reacting in road rage or something like that. Then they want to blame you as though you're the bad one. And by that stage, if you have done something physical and so on, then you have committed a crime. There is a literal victim, even if they were the ones who hurt you emotionally first through words or putting a pressure on you through a force, like getting too close. So it's interesting with the social distancing. If we can see the lesson in it without being controlled by it, it's actually a very good universal lesson to give people their space. We know that we don't like people we don't trust, or people we haven't met before. Until we've worked out they can be trusted, we don't like them coming too close into our immediate space. Our heckles begin to go up. So that is the spiritual spring beginning to be compressed, and we naturally want them to step back. Okay. So think about that when you're on the road. Start being more mature on the road. Give people space. I've seen statistics, studies they've done that says if everybody drove at a reasonable, respectful space from each other, we actually wouldn't have accidents at all, and there'd be never a traffic jam, because there'd be sufficient space for anybody to come out at any time when they came to their intersection or the roundabout and so on, and then the person behind would just simply drop back a little bit. It takes no effort, really. Okay, instead of racing up behind them to show them, flash the lights out of frustration. Oh, you got in my space. Well, okay, just step aside a little bit. Just back off a little bit. No harm done. Certainly not worth, the pressure going up in your own head when you've got enough problems in your life already. I'll use the word challenges. Problems tends to put you in a box where you feel like you can't escape. Challenges simply means there's something on your plate and you're going to work out how to get around it, how to overcome it, how to dig under it if need be, there's always an option when the issue is in the box and you have an eternity of space to distance yourself from it, or to walk around it and so on. Okay, so going back to the masks, walk through the shop. In this case, nobody actually approached me, and I made the effort I'm a big believer in making the effort first to smile. That shows that people are afraid, and you're doing something outside of what they believe is the norm, and many people think you should because they're afraid that clearly you have the sickness. The more that we appear to be rebelling, the more they're going to think we're the sick one. Okay, a bit like a zombie turning. They're going to think we're the zombie turning, but in actual fact, they're the zombie turning when you can grasp it, because they're becoming more and more sick in their minds of their understanding, where they're becoming more and more immature, if you understand it. They're giving up, instead of taking ownership spiritually for their own existence, they're willfully giving it up to a mummy figure, the government. Okay? Now, in my other videos, I often mention the government, but I want you to understand the war is not with the government. The government is actually still just a small fish in all of this. So the politicians and the police and the judges and all of that, they're just various arms of the government structure. And the whole thing is still just a small fish in the big pond of the elite right up the very top. 1% of actual people who are in a position in history, so their ancestors their descendants from ancestors who started things. Lots of people know this, the Rockefellers and so on. I try and be careful not to go too deep with this, because otherwise certain individuals who aren't up to speed start to think that we're conspiracy theorists. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a truth chaser. There's a big difference. So in order to be a truth chaser, you need to be open to the possibility that anything could be true. Now, that's how good scientists operate. Okay, so if they want to call a truth chaser a conspiracy theorist, then they have to call all true scientists, not evolution theorists, but true scientists that can actually prove with fact that what they're stating works. Now, before they can get to the point they can prove it with fact, they have to have an idea. An idea pops in their head, oh, well, what about this? Or I wonder if that could be the case. And then they go and begin to experiment on it, they research a bit more and so on, and start to put the facts together until eventually they can go, oh, here it is, to the everyday public. They can go, here it is, and here's the proof, okay? And before they get to that place, they're often talking to other scientists in the phase of not having facts, but being able to talk heart to heart with other scientists and about the possibility of this. I'm just thinking about this. It doesn't mean it's right, but I'm just considering